All right. Well, thank you, first of all. This is the first teach-in that we've hosted in the community publicly since we've put this curriculum together. This was put together by a coalition effort known as the Denver Justice Project, and that began actually about a year ago now. And I also just want to give you all a big round of applause because the community has been a big part in not only our foundation, but our efforts and our successes in the past. So give yourselves a big round of applause as well, please. And just so folks know, there's a sign-in sheet in the front area. I believe everybody here has signed in, and that's just basic name and email, so we can stay connected with you all. And welcome. This is the Denver DA 101 teach-in, and without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Rashawn.
Awesome, thanks. Hi everyone, thank you Alex. This is Alex Landau, really amazing organizer and a huge part of our community. My name is Rashawn Bliss. I work with the Denver Justice Project too, and this is Cecilia Cludy Rodriguez, who is also part of our coalition. And we are just super pleased to be with you all and sharing this really vital information because this is something that we know impacts our community and it's really crucial. So can you go ahead and move the slide forward? So we just want to start with a little sort of let's see who's here, but also frame and sort of ground where we are and why this is important. So if you can, we're not going to make you share anything more about it, but if you've been directly affected by the criminal justice system, you've been charged with a crime, convicted, arrested, been to jail, if you've been personally affected, please raise your hand. Okay, now keep your hands up, and if you have a family member who has been personally affected by the criminal justice system, will you raise your hand? Okay. And if you have a friend, someone who's not actually related to you, but someone you know who's been personally affected by the criminal justice system, will you raise your hand? Cool, so just go ahead and take a look around. There's almost nobody with their hand not in the air. You go ahead and put them down. But this is a picture of why this is so important. The district attorney, the criminal justice system at large, impacts all of our community. It touches all of our lives day to day, and whether we feel it personally and directly or indirectly through friends, families, people we know. And that's why it's so important for us to understand the key players in the criminal justice system, and especially the ones that we can hold accountable, and that we empower ourselves with the knowledge that we need to do that. So that's just a little bit of the framing we wanted to do today to actually get us started. So to really kick us off, I'm going to pass it to Cecilia.
Can we get the next slide too, please? Hi everybody, I'm really happy to be here with you all. Like Roshan said, we are all members of Denver Justice Project, DJP, and my name is, again, is Cecilia. The coalition of DJP is really working on these really broad scope issues around transforming law enforcement, really also focusing on the ending of mass incarceration and transforming also the work of racial justice in our city. And so the main reasons that we focus on the DA is because we see that office and the attorneys that work inside that office or prosecutors as well, that play key roles in ramping up the numbers of people who are in the detention centers and the jails in Denver. This is a quote from the DA's website. They are the chief law enforcement officer for the city and county of Denver, whose primary duty is to promote the safety of our communities by investigating and prosecuting crimes. Can we get the next slide, please?
Yeah, so the DA we recognize at the Denver Justice Project, and what we've begun to see around the country is that the DA is one of the primary contributing forces to mass incarceration. The DA is the entity who brings charges, deciding to charge, and then that is the introduction to the criminal justice system. So what we've decided to do is come up with 10 major focuses, kind of a platform, if you will, to kind of navigate our sector around our focus on the district attorney. All of these realms the district attorney impacts, from mass incarceration to fighting cultural patterns and practices of police violence and law enforcement, including deputies, decriminalizing public health issues, and we say public health issues to include sectors of addiction, people suffering from mental health crises, etc. We also see transparency, openness to community input as a serious part of developing this office into the community space that it's supposed to be.
So the rest of them listed, conviction reviews, that's implying people who've already been convicted being able to go back and either appeal that conviction or have a review process. The bail reform being the way that bail is set out for people when they are charged or when they are in their pre-trial hearing. Respecting the right to protest is something that we've just seen impact the community that is gathering together, doing assemblies, protesting that they're actually facing charges. Immigration being also really broad issue, but something that the DA has a lot of discretion around, and whether or not they are going to support immigrants and people who need their advocacy to not be deported. And we're seeing the opposite, right? We're seeing a lot of times where the DA is actually not advocating for people and further prolonging their either deportation process or their residency process, sorry. Juvenile justice, this is also something we're going to be highlighting a lot throughout the presentation, because it's something that it's one of those starter points, right, of people's entire life cycle, going in and out and being pushed through these different departments and different sectors of the criminal justice system. And especially for young people, the discretion is key for DAs and prosecutors to hold discretion in what they're charging people with and what they're recharging people with. The last one, reallocating resources and organizational change within the DA's office. So the DA is actually one of the biggest funnelers and decision makers around funds and budgetary spending of the city's money for victim services and organizations that are supposed to serve people who are victims of crime or who have survived some sort of violence. And right now, the majority of the money that they allocate goes directly into the law enforcement agencies themselves. So the Sheriff's Department, Police Department, and the Fire Department as well.
So this is obviously a really big set of issues, and there's actually a lot more information in the piece of paper that most of you are holding. Denver Justice Project has just finished creating a voter education tool that we basically want folks to understand the key points, the key issues that are happening in the DA election, right? Because that's, if we haven't made it clear enough, that is why doing this now is so important. It's because right now in 2016, the Denver District Attorney is up for re-election, or I'm sorry, they're up for election because the current District Attorney, Mitch Morrissey, is term limited. So there will be a new District Attorney in Denver, and because there's such an important figure, it's really crucial that we, the community, drive the conversation on what issues are important in that race and what those candidates have to know that we are thinking and we are looking for them to change. So these are just the bullet point. These are just the bullet points. There's much more information in that voter tool. If you didn't get one, they're still out front, and there's plenty more. So please do grab them before you leave. And keep that in mind as we go through this presentation, that these will be things that you will need to understand who stands where in terms of the candidates for the district attorneys for this election here in November. Next slide, please. Awesome. So we are going to start with just a little overview of clarifying who is who. The district attorney and the city attorney are both very similar offices, but there's an important distinction, so we want to go through what the differences are. Next slide. That's kind of hard to read. But it's okay because we're going to talk to you about it. So the district attorney is an elected official. First and foremost, they are accountable to us. At least they're supposed to be. And the district attorney is different from the city attorney because the city attorney is appointed by the mayor, and the city attorney is accountable to the mayor and the administration of the city. So these are important distinctions to understand between the district attorney and the city attorney. I'll take the next one.
For sure. So the other distinction around the city attorney is that they also serve as the legal advisor for all city employees and the city and county of Denver itself, whereas the district attorney is representing the people of the District of Colorado, or the District of Denver, sorry, my bad.
But also Colorado. So the district attorney is responsible for prosecuting felonies. They prosecute over 6,000 felonies a year, and that's a large part of what they do, but they also prosecute over 18,000 misdemeanors. This is every year. So again, this is just gives you a kind of idea of the scope of the influence of this central person. Whereas the city attorney is the person who prosecutes you for municipal offenses. These are parking tickets, but these are also things that basically the police have decided to charge you on the city level. The police can decide who to send you to, whether it's the city attorney or the district attorney, but these charges are often the municipal level charges, like traffic violations, shoplifting, these sort of lower level things. Often are also ways that the city makes money, right? We saw in Ferguson, this sort of policing for profit model was exposed. We know that that's a lot of where a lot of cities get their money. So the city attorney is largely a sort of tax collector in lots of ways, though they do so much more, but that's an important part of the role that they play.
Something related to what Roshan just said around policing for profit is that charges coming out of the city attorney's office often carry a bigger weight of a charge because the money that is basically raised or collected in those specific charges goes directly back into the city budget, whereas with the district attorney, that budget is connected in part to the state as well.
Yeah, so there's lots more differences that we could talk about. There's also several overlaps in terms of the kinds of charges that police or the district attorneys and city attorneys will end up dealing with. But the important thing that we want you to remember is that the district attorney works for you. They are supposed to represent the people and seek justice, and they are elected by us, and so that means that they're also supposed to be accountable to us. And the city attorney is the city's lawyer. They just do whatever the city wants them to do, including defending police officers or deputies who have harmed or killed our community members in the line of their work. So that's the kind of distinction we wanted to help tease out here before we go any further. Next slide.
Before we dive into this next slide, just to touch a couple of things to keep in mind around the district attorney and the city attorney. The district attorney is also the highest paid state elected official, makes just under $233,000 a year as an annual salary, and that is the position that the current 4 candidates who are running for. And also the city attorney is responsible for a lot of the low-level cases that we see actually leading to death and serious bodily injury in the jail, like cases like Marvin Booker and Michael Marshall, who were picked up under violation of the city ordinance, whether that be trespassing, violation of camping ban, whatever the case may be, making it illegal to exist while homeless, in turn being cited, failing to appear in court, becoming a citation that is punishable by arrest, a bench warrant being issued, and then being carried over into the jail and being held on a very low-level bond. So cases like Marvin Booker and Michael Marshall, 2 people who have recently been killed in the Denver City Jail, and cases that have been settled out of the Denver City Jail, were there under instruction of the city attorney. So the role and purpose and influence of the district attorney. So again, the district attorney is supposed to speak for the people in the criminal courts and prosecute individuals who are being charged with crimes, individuals who are supposed to pose a threat to our community. The DAs are tasked to indict and prosecute people who are allegedly committing